My name is Silvia from Centro Studi Galileo, and today I have the pleasure and honor to briefly guide you through this webinar. As you well know, the title is Digitalization for Refrigeration and Air Conditioning, and we will have with us today speakers from Bitzer and Fieldpiece. Before we start, while we wait for everyone to join, I will give you a very short guide. The webinar will last about 1 hour. Every speaker will have 15 minutes to present, plus a dedicated Q&A time and a final debate. You can ask your questions anytime. You're very welcome to do that. We recommend you to do so. You can do it at the bottom of the control bar. There is the bottom Q&A. We'll also launch a poll because we really care about your opinion, and we will discuss it at the end. The speakers will also be available via email afterwards in case there is no time to reply to all your questions. And you can also review this video anytime because we are recording it and we will share it with you afterwards. So without any further ado, let me just introduce the titles of the presentations. The first one will be Bitzer, How Digitalization Supercharges Refrigeration and AC Experts by Eugen Bonelis, Digital Solution Manager. And then it will be followed by Bas Kamermans, General Manager EMEA of Fieldpiece, Incorporating Wireless Technology for System Analysis. And now it is my big pleasure to leave the floor to our CEO, as well as ARIA President Marco Boni, who will give you a better overview of our international activity, as well as the latest FCAS update. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Silvia. Thank you to Eugen from Bitzer. Good morning, Eugen. Good morning, Bas. Nice to see you, to have you with us this morning. And thank you to all the audience that we have today. We have an important webinar about digitalization, which is an important and actual topic. Few words about ourselves, just to start and to let everyone joining this webinar this morning. So I'm the ARIA President and the ATF, Italian Association of Refrigeration Secretary General. ARIA is an association of contractors, technicians. We are 26 associations from 22 countries. We represent 110,000 technicians in Europe. And also I'm the CEO of Centro Studi Galileo, which is a training provider. We organize webinars, we organize training in Italy, worldwide. We cooperate with the United Nations, European Commission, International Association as AFRIA, Asian Association as JASRAI, CAR, ISRA, and many more. We do training worldwide. We finished yesterday a training in Madagascar with our nice and good teacher, Madisa Kande, which one of you maybe knows, is also president of the African Association of Refrigeration. Again, a federation of associations, 55 associations from Africa. I'm a president of the European, he's a president of African, a cooperation between Europe and Africa, which is working very well. And yesterday was in Madagascar doing this training for us. We did also training in many countries. We were last summer in Egypt, then in Nigeria, Qatar, Bahrain, and many more. We organize a conference every 2 years. The last was in June, and we had 250 participants from 43 countries, speaking about the latest technologies. And this is our aim. Our aim is to teach, to share the knowledge of the latest technologies, like today. Today, we want to share with you what are the latest technology and why it's important to keep updated in this very transforming sector. We are moving fast. Legislation is moving fast as well. So it's important to keep updated. We also have an international magazine since 2006 with United Nations Environment Program, a magazine which the latest technology again, with also partnership with many companies around Europe, around the globe. I want to tell you a few things about the F-gas regulation, which is very important because it's starting to go live. The 5th of April, so in 10 days, we will going to see a draft, a proposal by European Commission, but we already have some ideas which I share with you. ARIA is very committed on that because ARIA is representing installers which are very involved through the leak checks, the inspections, the logbooks, the certification, the training, And this is what everyone wants. AFRIA wants to increase training, mandatory certification for alternatives, refrigerants, a phase-down scheme focusing also on TEWI, so on energy efficiency, not only on GWP. You want to include also transport, refrigeration, maritime, ship. You want to increase and enforce better the gas regulation, tackle the illegal trade, which is very, very large, unfortunately, the illegal trade of refrigerant. The European Commission is working hard on that, received 75 feedbacks as contribution, and also asked the Commission a report on split air conditioning. I put this slide because split air conditioning will be, will be an important part of our of the proposal. In particular, this report says that it's possible to use propane below 7 kilowatts cooling in split air conditioning, and we already see split air conditioning with propane in some countries like Germany, like UK. Also from DIY, which is not very good, because DIY, do it yourself, are we don't want people to make themselves split system, and in particular with propane, because they need the right tools, they need the right competence, and even if the gas regulation is very clear on that, we want to keep no doubt. Only personnel competent can do it this job, and in particular with propane, where there is a problem of safety. And you need to use the right tools. You need to use the right competence. And also the report says move from R-410A to R-32, which is mildly flammable as well, R-32. And again, needs the right tools to be used. You have to be used to know that 74% of all F-gases imported in the EU is in pre-charge equipment in split system. So it's very important what I just said to you. And also you need certification using propane. We want certification using propane. The path for arriving to the proposal of gas regulation has been long, starting 2020 with the consultation. We have a consultation form in 2021, an impact assessment concluded in the end of 21, still ongoing, but on the 5th of April, the regulation proposal will be out. Then will be a political procedure, legislative, through the European Parliament and the Council. I tell you that because we have already some leaks. We already know that they want to have certification added on fluorinated gases, also on alternative refrigerant. So a mandatory certification also for propane, CO2, ammonia, which is something already in place in many countries, but something, of course, coordinated inside the gas regulation. Maybe following the real alternatives project that we did in the past, and I will show you a slide in a few seconds. Also, they want to ban refrigerant above 150 GWP if the capacity of a split system is below 12 kilowatts. So cooling below 12 kilowatts, they need refrigerant below 150 GWP, which means propane, of course, and also maybe some mixture of HFOs, but at the moment there is nothing existing at the moment. Will be created, of course, but nothing is in place at the moment, and probably propane will be the best choice at the moment. Above 12 kilowatts cooling, GWP above below 750. They want to move with refrigerant below 750 if the cooling capacity of the air conditioning equipment, stationary split system, is above 12 kilowatts. And also the accelerated phase down. You can see in this bottle that the phase down will be accelerated, will be an accelerated phase down. So we want to reduce ton of CO2 equivalents quicker than was planned in the earlier F-gas regulation. So what is the F-gas regulation? The past F-gas regulation did a good job, definitely. We have around 500,000 certified technicians in Europe. We have less leaks. We have better inspections. We increased the competence, and also thanks to F-gas regulation, we have better equipped, better reuse of refrigerant, recovery, better tools of the companies, also better BAC, building automated controls, which is very important because the controls help to have a better system, because we have gas regulation, like also the EPBD, the Energy Performance of Building Directive, both aim to energy efficiency of a system. When you check a system, you want it not only to be leak-free, but also to be efficient. The Energy Performance of Building Directive put that, which it is a directive, so it's not law, while the regulation of gas regulation is immediately law in Europe. The directive means that needs still to be enforced, implemented in the member countries. So need each member country to legislate, to put in place a law about it. But both are focusing on energy efficiency. The EPBD also put an important paragraph about the building automated controls. So if you have digitalization in your building, you can have better inspections, can be better use of your tools, and can be a better way of controlling your system, which is energy efficient. And in particular, if it's above 70 kilowatts, you need to have automated control checking your system. And but to be honest, let's keep in mind that also the EPBD is in recast. So also the EPBD is in the process of being legislated. Last but not least, then I'm going to end of my introduction, which is for keeping all the people. Now we have 73 persons, and I thank you all of them to be here today with us. I want to tell you our Real Alternatives project, which is a free of charge learning about alternative refrigerants, leak check, inspections about flammable refrigerants, carbon dioxide, ammonia, A2L, and also certification. So in the classroom, you can have a certification with good practices on alternative refrigerant. And hopefully it will be incorporated in the legislation of many countries in Europe, because we have already 20 countries following the Real Alternatives project. With 17 translation already, languages already. And we have around 30 training providers. And in Spain is already in place, the Real Alternatives, and is part of the legislation, which means that to use alternative refrigerant, you have to be certified and trained through Real Alternatives to use this kind of equipment. I thank all our partners. Of course, I thanks Bitzer today for being with us. He's our partner since so long time. Really, you know, I've been working for Centro Studi Galileo for 20 years. They've been partnered with us for more than 20 years. So I thanks Bitzer, Eugen, Bonelis to be with us, and also Fieldpiece for being with us. First today will be Eugen Bonelis, but because before I started, I want to say one word, maybe more than one word, 1 minute, because we know there is something happening in Ukraine right now. And we had a conversation with the Ukrainian Association of Refrigeration, Sergei Anasin, last Thursday. He asked for support and help from our sector. Please send us an email if you are happy, if you want to support. They need power generators, they need tools, they need help, they need manufacturers to boycott Russian market. They want us to help. So if you are ready to help, if you want to help, please send us an email and we try to make you in contact with Ukraine, and they will tell you exactly what they need. Our sector can do a lot. Our sector, you know, is important. The cold chain is essential, and so is important, our sector. And there is a call from Ukraine about it. And later today also will be a video message coming from Ukrainian Association asking for help. Let's go to our webinar today. Thank you, Eugen Bonelis, Bitzer, how digitalization supercharges refrigeration and AC expert. I stopped my video. I stopped my presentation. I think now you are able to share your presentation. And again, thank you, Bitzer, for helping us every time in Italy, but worldwide with our training and our webinars. Even with our training, you come always to our training as well. You have to know that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Warm welcome also from my side, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to present this interesting topic, how digitalization supercharges refrigeration and AC experts. The topic, which is not that small, you have a digitalization there, you have a refrigeration there, both topics are huge, and I have only 15 minutes, so let's make the best out of it. My name is Eugen Bonelis, and I'm Digital Solution Manager at Bitzer. So, but before we start talking about the digitalization as it is, I'm like to focus a little bit what actually matters for your customers, for the guys who are paying for all of us, the end users. And there are actually two important things. The one is availability, the availability of a refrigeration system. This is what they care about. If refrigeration system doesn't work, we failed. And that's, I think, one of the important part there. So, and to keep the systems available, on the one hand, you need a good hardware. This is what we as Bitzer are providing. This is what you are doing to your customers. But also it is important to take care of this system. And this is where we're talking a little bit about the preventive system, a preventive service looking about the system, checking it, and in case of something is going wrong, be able to correct it before the system stays still, which is easy to say, but not that easy to implement, because this work take a lot of time, a lot of effort. You need to monitor the system constantly, and it takes one resource, which is called refrigerant experts or technicians, you guys. On the other hand, the other important point is the total cost of ownership. Again, the hardware is important refrigeration system, all these parts are there and are provided. But another matter that I want to concentrate your attention on is the 2 points with the correct commissioning, because very often the systems are commissioned, but there is no load, for example, if you're talking about the supermarket, or we're talking about the air conditioning buildings, or about the office buildings, there is nobody there. So, or it's winter time and you need to commission everything before the building goes online. So it's not very easy to do a correct commissioning at the beginning. And the same also with optimal operation of the system. Everything around the refrigeration or AC system changes. And so the system regulation needs also be updated from time to time. And also here, as with the availability, we also need here a resource. It's easy to say, to do it every time, but we need a resource to do it. And this as a technicians, this as a refrigeration experts. And you see in both of these cases, these guys are actually critical. Without them, you cannot do a preventive service, you cannot do a correct commissioning, you cannot do optimal operation. And this task takes also a lot of time then to make them correctly and to make them continuously. And refrigeration experts or refrigeration technicians are also not a very common good, let's say it like that. They are not freely available. So you guys have them, and you know it's not that easy to find skilled refrigeration technician now. And it will not become better in the future as the system becoming more complex, as well as the people who master it are not becoming more and more. So you can see the value of time of the refrigeration experts is very, very important. And where this time and what this time is used for, if we're talking about the tasks of the refrigeration people I was mentioning earlier. And from my experience, from my talk with the customer, and also experience you have, I think a lot of time of the refrigerant expert is concentrated around gathering the information. So first of all, they need to find out what has been installed, what are the operation conditions. They need to find out how the system was performing beforehand, before the issue come up or before the optimization is needed. So we're talking about the history of the refrigeration system, but it's also important to know how the system is performing now, and this with very high resolution. And also get the information about the installation itself, about the products, to give the right, to have the right manual, to have the right documents in hand. All this takes time. So you can imagine if there is a call from somewhere, my refrigeration system works not correctly or need an optimization. First of all, the guy needs to find time to go there, which takes hours or days if you need to find an appointment. And if he's there, he needs to find out what has been installed, actually, what has been happened there. And if he's lucky, this issue is occurring when he's on site. And if not, okay, let's start all the process again. So you can see it's really time consuming to get all of this information. And after he has all this information, it is also important to identify which bits of this information are really important for the troubleshooting case, for the optimization case. So this, and it takes a lot of time of these valuable experts where we were talking about. And this prevents them from doing much more work that they actually could do. So in case they could support maybe 5 or 10 systems, they're supporting only 1 or 2 because they need to gather all this information. The good thing, information, and it helps us to think, or it moves us into direction to the idea that digitalization and information, that they are connected, and so digitalization can help in this case. And this is actually correct. The digitalization, digital tools can help get this information, combine this information, store this information, and provide it to the refrigeration guy or the refrigeration technician, AC technician, in a right way, so he can do his work efficiently and very fast in much more systems if there was no digital solution behind. So that, I think, is a good news. But how to implement digitalization or this digital solution? I think the world is quite common. Everybody is talking about the digitalization, but how it actually could help? How should it look to be able to help, for example, in this particular case? And here we need a data source. something which providing the data about the operation of the system, about the history of the operation of the system in very high resolution. So you remotely can do the diagnosis of the system without going on site, getting all this information, saving time. So this is the one part. And for this, you need a good hardware, right sensors on the right place. You need to know how the sensors work. The second part, which is not to be forgotten, is the right digital infrastructure. You need somehow get this data out of the data source, put it into a digital form, into the cloud, for example, and be able to store it, to interpret it, to provide it to the refrigeration technician in the right way. And to do it, you also need the right expertise on the refrigeration systems, on the AC system, to be able to identify these important bits and pieces, which are then provided to the refrigeration technician. So I think you can hear this is a huge task to be done, but it's also important to have it done. As you see, for the refrigeration experts, it saves a lot of time and provides really an opportunities here. But how to get there? And in this case, I think there is 3 ways actually. Most talking about the 2. So the one way is to build it all by yourself. Times and resource consuming, but provides you with a lot of opportunities. You have the highest flexibility. You get the tool at the end you need for your technicians, for your systems. Quite a good thing, but takes a lot of time. So if you didn't start for 2 or 3 years with this solution and you don't have it already, it could be tricky. As the time is moving more on and the market is advancing, solutions are coming in, there is a lot of pressure in terms of service in the market, and it is only mounting. So this build solution is good in terms of flexibility, but has some limitation in terms of available time. The other possibility is to buy this infrastructure, to find a solution that provides what you need, which is on itself not always that easy, but it reduces your flexibility a little bit. But on the other hand, you can start very fast and easy, almost immediately, depending on the solution, of course, and help your refrigeration technicians in that way. So this is the second way. And the third way that I'm actually like a bit more, it's about the integration part. So some part of your system you're building by yourself, where you see your benefits, where you see your strengths, and some parts of the system which providing the information, for example, about the compressor or refrigeration system or something like that, is then bought and you combine them. So you don't need to build everything from scratch and just building some scaffolding on your side or the parts which you already have, and add value from other sources, combine it into a complete solution, which is then much more efficient. And another benefit of this way going into the digitalization is in the way that you can start by buying something on the market, start using it, start learning it, as marketing changes very fast. And it's new for us, it's new for the customer, requirements are changing. So you can start already with something which already there, start providing the services, start helping your technicians already now. And in the background, you build your own digital infrastructure, or you decide if you want to do it. So that's why this is the way I'm really keen of. But in general, there is 3 ways to go toward this digital infrastructure in the background: build your own, buy, or integrate, where you buy parts and build something by yourself. And the third way is the way what we were thinking about when we were developing our own solution. As an example, how it can work and how it can help you to go in this direction. So it's called Bitzer Digital Network. It's a Bitzer online platform, which is based on the one hand on the Bitzer infrastructure. And here I'm talking about all the knowledge that we have about the compressor, starting with the technical documentation or the technical information of this particular compressor, in combination of the Bitzer know-how on how compressors and refrigeration systems are operating, and combine it with our intelligent compressors, Bitzer IQ products. We created this online platform, which on the one hand provides out-of-the-box solution for remote diagnosis of refrigeration and AC systems by looking into the compressor. And you know, compressor is the heart of the refrigeration system. And on the one hand, it's a curse. And on the other hand, it's a blessing. The curse is because if there is something wrong in the system, the first element which feeling it is a compressor. But the blessing is when you look from the other side and look into the compressor, you get a very good understanding how your refrigeration system is working. And this is what we are using here at Bitzer Digital Network. How it works in general, you have our intelligent compressors with intelligent modules like an IQ module for piston compressors, CMRC, or SEI1 for the screw compressors, which is important for the AC business, or our CSVH compressors with integrated frequency inverter. But also if you're talking about the condensing units like EcoStar and EcoLite, all of them can be connected to a gateway, which we provide, and can be easily onboarded. And the data collected from these devices with very high resolution, we're talking about 10 seconds resolution there, which provides you with enough fidelity, enough information to understand what actually happens with this system. And so this data is collected by the gateway and sent into the cloud. And then you as a user can access it and are able to do different things like online monitoring, organizing system, making data analysis, troubleshooting, getting compressor information, documentation. And the idea behind it is to be able to get the relevant information which is needed for the particular case in 2 or 3 clicks. And this is how it looks in the real life for the customer. For the one who's using it, you go into the bitzer.de, you log into Bitzer Digital Network. And if you have my Bitzer account, you can do it directly now. You get the list of your refrigeration systems which are connected. You see which of them has alarms which are critical. You go inside, see the live operation of the compressor. You get the list of the alarms, of the history alarms with the troubleshooting text, with the hints which helps you. If something wrong with your compressor, you get an email notification if the compressor is stopped, for example. You are also able to look very detailed into the historical performance of the compressor. And as I already told, you can get a very detailed view on the most important parameters like evaporation temperature, condensing temperature, pressures, capacities. And another part is, of course, an operation report, which wrap up all this information and provides you with the eagle eye overview of the performance of your compressors. In just few clicks, you can understand what are the critical points, where the problems are occurring, how your system is operating, providing this valuable information for your refrigeration experts. Works also on the mobile phone, as it's a resizable web application, but also on the desktop. What you didn't saw in the video, because I have only 15 minutes, is additional information that you're getting about the compressor. Like you have a possibility to store all the history of the maintenance that you have done on the system. You can store it in the Bitzer digital network. You can get information about the spare parts. So all this 360-degree view on the product is there. You can store information about the installation, combine it with the data analysis, with the data which is coming from the compressor. And all of that saves the time of the refrigerant experts, the idea that we were talking about at the beginning. And by using this system actually out of the box, you increase the productivity of refrigeration technicians by a huge factor. So now you get additional possibilities to take care of about more system or help your customers or optimize the system directly without going on site. And coming back to the previous information, to the previous slides where we were talking about the digital infrastructures and the way how to go there. And I think we saw now that digitalization can transform this uniqueness of the refrigeration and AC experts into a business opportunity, because now you can do much more with the same guy, providing more satisfaction to your customers and getting additional value out of it. And the good thing, you can start doing it, and I was talking here about this integration approach directly out of the box, in the background building your own system, or keeping this out of the box approach, seeing how it works. Easy to start. You just, I think, order one package with a gateway and you're ready to go, and you can try, because time is of the essence now. The work of the digitalization is changing very rapidly. And if you have something to start to learn from the beginning, you have a better chances in the opportunity to catch this train and to be ahead of it. So that's my short presentation, short overview. Thank you very much from my side. And I think I'm ready for the questions.
Thank you very much, Eugen, for your presentation. I followed it and it was very clear and interesting. And we did receive some questions. Let me start with the first one from Michael that I kept aside. Is it possible to repair compressors remotely? If not, would it be possible in the future?
Okay, repairing compressors remotely, depending what you mean by that. So it will not be possible to transfer somehow magically spare parts and building them into the compressors. But what possibility you have there? For example, if the IQ module has a fault on the compressor and it is in the fault state, you have a possibility to remotely restart it. Just to answer you directly in this question. So that is already there. But on the other hand, by the possibility on looking how the compressor is performing with an operational graph, with this detailed operation report, with the possibility to compare the performance of different compressors within this system, you have the possibility to make remote diagnosis, which on the other hand helps you when you go on site, you already know what to do. Because the normal way would be to go on site, trying to find out what actually happens, losing one day on it, and then go back to the office, buying right spares, buying right refrigerants, and so on, and then coming back again.
Yeah, so you mean that you save time also?
Yeah, and this is what is all about, to save this time, to be able and to be prepared actually before you go on site and even before the compressor breaks down.
So we are getting a lot of questions, and I'll read you now the one from Risto, which is the first one that just came. What are the possibilities of remote control? I guess you already answered throughout your presentations and also now, but if you want to just quickly say something again.
Yeah, it's really important to understand what we are talking about: remote control and remote monitoring or remote diagnosis. That's two different topics. With remote control, you have a possibility to update the configuration of your system remotely, to adapt it in on what is actually happening. So this is the one point. And of course, remote diagnosis, it's another important thing which is rising up from all this information that you're getting out of the compressors. This remote diagnosis saves a lot of time and really supercharges the refrigerant experts.
Okay, I see. Let me just ask you one more question from Marius, and I leave the other two for the debate.
Okay.
So Marius is asking, this system is cloud-based or could be operated locally without internet connection?
This system is cloud-based because it needs to work remotely. On the one hand, of course, the IQ modules by themselves can operate offline on site. They have the integrated data log, which stores the data for 2 weeks. In this case, you would need to go on site and download the data from the data log. This system also provides you, also without the internet, possibility to register all your sites within Bitzer digital network, get all this information, like the documentation, like the possibility to store all your service activities there. For this, you don't need any gateway, and it's even free of charge. Just register at Bitzer digital network, and you already can start.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I would like to it's live. I would like to present to you the poll that we just launched, and we want to know the opinion of all the participants, because we have some questions, and this is also the base for the final debate. So I invite you to reply. It's just 3 questions, very easy, very quick. And meanwhile, I thank again Eugen for your very interesting presentation. Please stay online with us for the final debate.
Yeah, thank you.
And I ask Bas to please come online with his webcam and also to share his screen.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Sylvia. So help, my AC system does not work. This is a very typical message an HVAC technician could receive from a homeowner or a property owner. And Eugen did already create some context in his previous presentation. But good morning, my name is Bas Kamermans. As Marco already explained, I'm the General Manager for Fieldpiece Europe. And today I would like to give you some insight in the decision-making process that a typical HVAC technician has, and how wireless technology can make him help to make his customer happy. In case a homeowner has an issue with an AC system, and in this case, these 2 homeowners, how can you then, as an HVAC technician, make this customer happy? And in the end, we all know if a happy customer is a happy business, because a happy customer will most probably you will keep them as a customer, and also a happy customer will spread the word and probably bring you in new customers. So that's all nice, but of course it will also generate for you more money. So if we know all that, how can we then make sure that whenever a customer reaches out to us, how can we then make sure that we help him with this issue? So I think there are a few things that are really critical. So first of all, you want to quickly understand what the issue is or what the problem is with the system. So if you know that quickly, you can do the repair. And yeah, of course, you typically have several jobs to do on a day. So the sooner you have done the analysis, basically the more jobs you can get done during the day. So then you can get your repair done. Of course, you would like to check if the repair you did, if it actually did solve, had the right effect and did solve the issue. And then, of course, you can send the invoice to the customer, which in the end keeps us in business. You definitely don't want the customer to ring you back 1 week later and basically send you the same message, hey, my system doesn't work. Because as soon as you need to drive back to your customer, you know you're going to lose money. So we don't want to have callbacks. So it is important to do the right diagnostics. And since tolerances in controls, equipment, and systems, also just presented by Bitzer, are getting more and more tighter, we need to make sure that the measurements do the right diagnostics keep up with it. So let's have a look at a typical, and I will just change my pointer. Let's have a look at a typical process where a technician basically runs into. So typically somebody comes at a homeowner, and then the homeowner is telling him that he has an issue with his system. I think that's already an interesting part, because typically when you arrive at a location, you will ask probably one of the most general questions, what's wrong? And then you get the answer by the homeowner or whoever owns the installation. The system doesn't work, but that's not a very how to say that, relevant answer, and it doesn't help you really to get quickly to where the real issue is in the system. So, but it's also not the responsibility of the person who is basically owning the system to tell you exactly what's wrong with the system. That's in the end the responsibility of the technician himself. So it's your responsibility to ask the right detailed questions. So a question like, okay, if you turn on the system, does it start? Do you hear the compressor running? Is there air coming out of your system? Is the temperature of the air, is it warm or is it cold? Those type of questions can help you really get quickly to find where the issue is. So typically you will retrieve that information as a technician. So then you're going to process it, and then of course you're going to do analysis by yourself. So you use your senses, your ears to listen if you hear strange noises. You use your eyes to see if something maybe is leaking oil or whatever. You can use your hands to feel if a pipe is warm or cold. Of course, you will use your knowledge, so whatever you've learned, and also the experience that you bring along. And also you need to do the measurements on the system. And all that you will process, and you gather basically the information, and this information you report basically out to the homeowner, and then the homeowner can on his turn, based on the information provided by you or the system owner, can make his decision what to do. And then he's going to first of all spend money based on his situation, based on the information and the situation you described him as a technician. But imagine that something hasn't been done in the correct way, or you have provided the wrong answers, or you did the wrong information, and you didn't do the right measurements. So what can then go wrong? So the homeowner can make a decision to repair something that didn't need to be repaired. So in the end, you're spending money without really solving the solution, solving the problem and bringing in the solution. So therefore, it's important to do high quality measurements. And quickly go to this one. Yep. So what's a high quality measurement? Basically, it's a combination of finding the right goal, the location to do the measurement, accuracy, and the timing. So basically, first we need to have the right goal. What are we going to measure? So imagine a unit doesn't start, or we suspect something is not running well because there's too little voltage. Then okay, that is something that we need to find out and basically check if that's correct, and that would be the goal. So in case something doesn't start, what would we measure? So it could be temperature, it could be pressure, but in this case, because we are suspecting for instance, a low voltage or even no voltage at all coming into the system, we want to measure voltage. So that's the first thing. So we're going to measure voltage in this case. And where do we want to measure that? So if you want to measure the voltage of a certain unit or the incoming voltage, then you preferably would like to measure it as close as possible to the unit. So you don't want to measure that at the distribution board, but you want to measure that as close, preferably at the connections of the unit itself. But that's where you are going to measure it. How are you going to measure it? So that's basically you need to determine which tools you're going to use. So in case of voltage, you can use a multimeter. You select the voltage functionality, and then basically you can measure the voltage. And as well, you also need to understand when to measure, basically in terms of timing. So when do you want to measure this voltage? If the unit is off, or if the unit is on, or you want to measure it when you're starting up the unit. Or maybe even better, you want to measure it at all the times, and you even want to do a comparison between the measurements you are taking when the system is off, when you're starting it up, and when the system is on. So this is basically what we all need to consider to do a high quality measurement. If we look at the HVAC industry, it all comes down to just three things that we want to diagnose. And it really doesn't matter if we're talking about a heating system, a ventilation system, an air conditioning system, or a refrigeration system. Whether it's residential, commercial, or refrigeration, whether it's a new install or commissioning, maintenance or service. In the end, we want to measure the electrical circuit, we want to measure airflow, and we want to measure the refrigerant charge. And that can be measured by measuring pressure and temperature. So that's basically where it all comes down to. So let's have a look at a typical refrigerant cycle. So this is just a schematic overview of a typical refrigerant cycle. We'll just guide you quickly through it, and this will probably help. So we have the outdoor unit with the ventilator and the compressor. We have the indoor unit where the air comes in and the cooler air goes out, but this is inside of the building. And there we want to measure airflow, and we want to measure basically want to do electrical measurements. So at the outdoor unit, that's where we are going to check the refrigerant charge by measuring pressure and temperature. So in this case, what you want to do as an HVAC technician, you want to hook up your tools basically to the system. So you're going to measure pressure, temperature. If you want to charge or decharge refrigerant, you're going to weigh the refrigerant and you want to measure that. You want to do electrical measurements on the system, as I just described. You want to measure pressure, airflow, as well as temperature and humidity of the indoor unit. So these type of tools you can hook up to your system. And basically, because of the refrigerant system is a dynamic system, you want to do all these measurements at the same time. What you don't want to do is measure inside. You'll measure, for instance, pressure, temperature, humidity. Then you write down your measurements, you take off your tools, you go to the outdoor unit, probably on the roof or somewhere else. There you're going to do make the measurements for the outdoor unit, like the temperature and the pressure. But in the meanwhile, the values of the indoor unit could already have been changed, like the pressure, the temperature, and the humidity, because we are working with a dynamic system. So basically what you would like to do, and that's something that will really the benefit of wireless technology and wireless tools comes in, you can measure all the measurements you would like to do at the same time. So whenever you do a repair on the system, or before you're doing a repair, you can hook up all the equipment, as you can see here, and you can do basically all the measurements at the same time, and it will all be do it like this, and it will be all gathered and consolidated together. So as you can see here, you get the information around the weight. You can get information around the pressure, the temperature, electrical measurements, as well as for the indoor unit, the pressure and temperature and humidity, and it will all be consolidated in one report. So basically, if you have this consolidated, you can go to your customer and tell, okay, hey, this is the situation your system is currently running in, and then the customer can basically make a decision what to do with basically the information you did provide to him. So he will decide whether to do what repair, of course, in consultation with you as an HVAC technician. But as I said at the beginning of my presentations, we don't want to have any callbacks. You don't want to get back to the customer. So as soon as you have done the repair to the system, you basically want to check if the repair you did do did basically solve the issue. And you can do that with one mouse click or one press on your of the button on your phone. You typically can run a second report. You get all the data, as you can see here on the right-hand side again, and that's basically should confirm that whatever you have done to the system did had the right effect. And this will allow you to be 100% sure that whatever you did do on the repair have solved the issue, and you basically don't need to come back for that same issue again. What you also can do, and I think that's very powerful, of gathering all the information at the same time, but also can do very easily multiple checks on the system before the repair and after the repair. You could also share the information on power consumption with your customer. So for instance, when you start to work on the system did consume 5 kilowatts. After you do the repair, and maybe you did clean the filter because you saw that the static pressure was not as the factory specs did say. You cleaned the air filter, and now the system is just consuming 4.2 kilowatts. If you go with that message to the customer and tell, hey, your system is now consuming less energy, it will help you definitely when you're presenting the invoice to them. So wireless technologies and tools will make your system analysis easier, faster, and better. And this, in the end, will make sure your customers are happy. Thank you. This was my presentation. I think you're on mute. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much, Bas. It was also very interesting and easy to follow. So we also received other questions, and let me start with this one from Ramona. So are the tools and the apps controlled through a mobile phone? Is it fine with any model of mobile phone? And then third part of the questions, what range of distances are covered? Because it happens that the compressor, the condensers, or evaporators are hundreds of meters away.
Of course, in general. So now we speak about the Fieldpiece tools. So I think there are different. If you look at all the products available in the market, I think there are different distances that Bluetooth ranges have. With the tools that we provide, it's sort of line of sight. It's 1,000 feet, so it will be 300 meters, a little bit over 300 meters, but that's in clear sight. So it depends on what basically the Bluetooth connection is encountering. Is it the wooden wall? Is it the brick wall? But typically it can go through several floors. So that's on the distance side. It works basically with all models of iOS, but also on Samsung and so on. It does work with basically all operating systems on mobile phones. Yeah, you can operate it through the mobile phone, but you can also operate it on the tools itself, as you could data log on the tools itself, but you could also use your manifold. So basically, the system is very user friendly. You can basically decide where and how you would like to use it through the phone, through the standalone tools, or through the manifold. So that's totally up to the HVAC technician how to use it.
Thank you. That was clear. We are perfectly on time, so I would like to ask you just this one more question from Robert. Could the tools be in fix with the system for a continuous energy performance check? For example, during a season of functioning of the system through a data logger?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the period of time. In the end, there's a memory in each and every tool, so you can run it for quite a long period of time. But it depends on how often you would take a measurement. So if you do it, for instance, every second, then you cannot do a lot of data logging. But if you do 1 or 2 measurements every day, you can really do quite a lot of measurements, and it has to do with the memory capacity. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your replies and also for your presentation. It was very interesting.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Now I would like to leave the floor to our moderator, Marco Boni, for the final debate and also to discuss the poll results. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. Thank you, Eugen from Bitzer and Bas from Fieldpiece for your wonderful presentation and to have shown how is important digitalization for our sector. As we said, digitalization is something that can really improve energy efficiency remotely, save time, save money, as you've shown both of you clearly. We have one question which also asks you an important point. How is Tiago from Portugal? I synthesize a bit this question because it's quite long, but I think it's very interesting. How do you sell digitalization? How do you show is important for the customer? Because customers sometimes doesn't want to pay this much more, but how do you, what is your strategy to sell digitalization and to show that the capital cost initially will be paid in, I don't know, maybe you can tell me you better than me, how much time you save it, the return of investment, you know. Yeah,
it's quite an important question. Yes, and a common one, and it's actually not that difficult to answer, as someone said, because on the one hand, if you talk about digitalization, all the clouds and so on, it sounds fancy, but it's not what everybody is actually interested in. And to sell this kind of the solution, it depends actually to whom you sell it, first of all. But of course, let's imagine we're talking to the end customer who's actually paying for it. And as I started at the beginning, there's actually two things which are interesting for him: availability and then total cost of ownership. And if we're talking about the availability, I think this is most important one and the easiest to sell. One example, if you're talking about the refrigeration system in a supermarket, which is not supervised, and imagine, and there was also such cases before we installed our system that because of the wrong settings in the system, somehow the complete refrigeration system fell flat. So it wasn't working for a day. Nobody saw it in the supermarket. You don't see it. Nobody is looking for it. No technician who's going everybody every day. And they lost hundreds of thousands of euro of goods within this supermarket. And the supermarket need to be closed for one day. So all this value is lost. And just to compare the loss of value in this case with small additional costs on this kind of the solution, it's convincing. Yes, it's very convincing. For supermarkets, at least, or for good store, is very important. You got goods so expensive that just few thousand euros for digitalization is that's worth it. And the same is also with air conditioning. If in summer the air conditioning stops functioning and you have high guests visiting your company or in a hotel somewhere, and you lose air conditioning for one day, sure. It's also losing value. So this is the one part. The other part, if you're talking about the terms of if something go wrong, if you're talking about the preventive maintenance, is to say, looking into having this system there. So on the one hand, you have availability. On the other hand, you have the possibility not to go on site every day. And each trip on site costs you something around 200 to 1,000 euro, depending where you are. And if you skip 2 of these trips, all the investment for all the digitalization is already there. Yes, also for inspections. For inspection is very important because it saves you the trips. For inspection, which are mandatory inspections sometimes, like the gas regulation or the EPBD directive are mandatory inspection. They save you time doing it remotely instead of going on site. Bas, what about, sorry, Eugen. Or you can combine it. You can say, okay, I have my dedicated visits that I need to do because of the regulation. But because I know how the system is performing, I combine them with the preventive maintenance. I combine them with changing the settings, with optimizing the system. So I don't need to go extra on site to this.
Yeah, Bas, from your side, how is it important to have the right tools, the tools that are well calibrated, well functioning, saving money, of course, as you said, for the customer, but also for the installers. Energy efficiency will increase.
Definitely. Yeah, I think and I think you just mentioned F-gas regulation. So I think regulation will get tighter. Systems, so basically tolerances and everything needs to be much more precise. So all what we are doing needs to be measured in a more accurate way. And of course, if you do things digitally, you will, as I just showed, it's easier to report out. It's easier to log. You could also use it for historical data. So if you did a report on the system, you can even use that to do an analysis there. And I think if you look a little bit back in time, so we also discussed heat pumps. So at a certain point in time, heat pumps, everybody says we need heat pumps in houses, and I think, okay, that was the first step we did, but basically worldwide. So looking at energy efficiency, I think now much more the regulation is around, okay, do these systems really work as energy efficient as they should be? So first, okay, let's get a heat pump in your house, but now it's also, okay, do these systems really reduce the level and do they operate as they should do? And that's something we need to, first of all, measure, then we need to adjust. And I think those regulations and those, I think, trends in driving energy efficiency will only increase accuracy of measurements, and therefore, digital tools will help you in making the right analysis and, of course, then the right actions afterwards.
Very good. Michele is asking, of course, Fieldpiece, we saw it is a wireless application. What about the Bitzer one? Is it with wireless or is it with a cable to the wires to the gateways?
Okay, to answer this question, so the gateway itself is wired. So you connect it through the Modbus to the compressors. And of course, sending data into the cloud, either through the internet connected through the LAN cable, or you can use the integrated GSM modem and send them directly through the mobile provider into the cloud. This is concerning the gateway itself, but the IQ modules which are installed on the compressor, all these intelligent compressors we were talking about, they have integrated a Bluetooth module. So for example, if you're on site, you are able, with an app standing 20 meters away, 100 meters away, read out all the data, download the data log from the compressor on site wirelessly.
Okay, this is great. One more question to you both, but I think Bas already answered to it. But can you adjust energy efficiency after you did all these measures, or after you did all this control remotely, or even can you, speaking about remotely, can you even adjust the energy efficiency remotely? Can you adjust the compressor remotely to increase the energy efficiency?
Mm-hmm. So for now, our solution is more on the monitoring part. So really looking what happens in the system, but it provides you actually with a lot of possibility to adjust it, because you don't need to be on site all the time to see that the system performing inefficiently. And you see it right away in the operational graph, in the operation report of the compressor. You can see where your set points are. You see how the compressors is working, how many start-stop it is, at which capacity it's working. So it's providing you immediately an idea how inefficient your system is working, but also what you need to do to make it more efficiently. And you see it all remotely. And then the only thing you need to do when you're on site, you change the settings. But also in the future, we are thinking about the possibility to change some settings on the compressor remotely.
And of course, Bas, you explained already very well. You do the measures and then you increase the energy efficiency, right, Bas?
Yeah, in the end, that's what you're doing. So what I just showed in the basically the outdoor unit, there you're measuring pressure and temperature. basically what you're measuring there is if the superheat settings are right, basically if your temperature is right there under a certain pressure, and as well as the subcooling. And that's something you would definitely like to know to really understand if my system is really working as it should be and working as energy efficient as it is. And depending on what you measure, you either need to charge or decharge a little bit of the refrigerant in the system. And that's something then you can also first report out, and you can also document how much you did charge or decharge from the system. So that's
very good. So you can show the customer how is saving as well, thanks to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So I think we are 10 minutes late, but it was worth it because it was very important questions. So it was very important debate. We still got 60 persons online. If they want to do some more questions, please do. We are here for you. If not, I will show you the results of a survey that we just.
Marco,
yes,
sorry.
Please. Okay.
Can I maybe come back to one of the questions which were there? I think. Tiago asked about the tangibility of the things. So if you have the system, let's talking about your system is already running, what you can actually do, you can make either with our tool or with the tool of Bas, you can make a report. And with operation report and the Bitzer digital network, you can report, you can do report before you work on the system, and to make this digital report after you have done your work on the system. And then you have something tangible which you can really lay in front of your end user, saying to him, look, this is how it works before, and this is how it works afterwards. And this is not the I who really wants to get the money telling you, it's the systems itself, it's the reports themselves which are telling you the system is operating more smoothly.
Very good. So, Tiago, I think now is happy. I believe Tiago from Portugal. So let's stop the survey. We had around 52 people answering to this survey. I think. Let me check. Yes. No. I think you can see the results. Right. No, sorry. We have 34 persons answering to results. To the survey, the results are, first question, if servicing is part of your daily job, are you already using wireless tool and or remote control? Yes, 50% of people already are using these wireless tools. So is something that they're already doing, which is good, of course, because with what we wanted today is to expand, and it's the future, to be honest, save money, save time to everyone. Second question, how do you feel digitalization has helped during the pandemic? During the pandemic, you couldn't move much, was even more important during the pandemic, the digitalization and remote control. 21% says 10. 10 up to 10 means a lot. 8, and then 50% says only 5. So most of the people, I think around 50% says that was useful. Question number 3, we have the last one. Do you think technological improvements such as digital online support system have enhanced the efficiency in our sector? So it has improved the efficiency of our sector, this kind of technological improvements. Yes, 70% says that improve our efficiency. I personally agree, 24, but nobody is against it. Of course, energy efficiency is very important. It will be even more important now with everything we see now with lack of gas, lack of natural gas, lack of energy, improving renewable energy. So I think we are going to a world in which energy efficiency will be even more important. And the directive that the European Union is pushing, we are going to see a lot of new directive in the next 12 months, I believe. We have gas regulation, I told you. We have PVD, I told you. Even the renewable energy directive is going to change in the next few months. And the energy efficiency directive also is going to change in the next few months. So we are going to see really a push in the Green Deal, as Europe is talking about, is calling. So our sector is part of it. You know that 20% of all energy efficiency is due to our sector. So 20% of all is important. So we can do a lot. So thank you. Sorry, you want to say a few more words, Eugen and Bas? Or you want to say hello to our 50 people that are still here with us?
Yeah, I'm just wanted to say thank you for all the nice questions, and maybe from my side, the digitalization will play a bigger role in our life than it did before. And I think the earlier we dive into this life, and this is what apparently a lot of us already do, and I think we are really on the right track with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I also would like to thank all the participants, and of course also Marco, Sylvia, and Alberto for organizing this. And it's great to see that we have, I would say, so much response already, and that people think that also digitalization will play a key role going forward. So that's nice to see. So that, and thank you everybody for your time and attention.
Thank you, Bas. Thank you again. It was a nice webinar. Everybody can see it still on our YouTube channel. It was also broadcasted in Facebook. And we had 100 people watching this webinar. So thank you so much to the audience. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you to my wonderful team, and see you in the next webinar.
We would also like to remind everybody to just drop a like on our social media so you can be updated on our latest news and also events also for the future. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Have a good lunch.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.